All right, welcome in. Welcome back to the BFR Podcast presented by Sports Mockery. My name is Dave, cover the Bears for SM, and join my good friend, Chicago Bears content creator, Ficky. Today we have an early morning Saturday edition of the BFR Podcast. So we have our coffee. We're going to talk. There's a little bit of breaking news that happened really early this morning, which, Ficky, you've been up. It looks like I saw your gym post that you've been up super early.
Yeah.
So you're probably one of the first to actually react and see that news, and we're going to get to that in a moment. But before we do, Ficky, how you doing, man, on this Saturday?
Doing good, ready for some playoff football this weekend, so that should be fun. Nothing's really changed from the Bears front. Like, we're still in this kind of coaching search and just back and forth with like these rumors, what's true, what's not, especially from like reputable people, right? So it's kind of like parsing through all that and figuring out like what's the true story, which we'll get into here, but nothing too crazy. So like, I'm chill. Packers lost last week, so like I'm good. How about you?
I think
you were last time. So how you feeling now?
I still don't feel well, man. It's kicking my butt. However, like I said, I think I'm on the upward trajectory, hopefully. I want to say this back to the Bears is that there has been a lot of like just push and pull. Like there's been there for about a 3-day stretch there. It was Ben Johnson to the Raiders. Nobody else even has a chance. Right. Last 24 to 48 hours now, it's hold on, pump the brakes. Both the Bears and the Jaguars even are just in the driver's seat. Open-minded as Ben Johnson. And it's funny just to see the revolving door of just rumors and and what's the word? Just the different types of conversations that happen every single day. But I will say this, I don't think anybody knows where Ben Johnson's truly going to go. Seriously.
No. And then you had that report that dropped, not the report, but I guess it is a report about his agent, right? That like he just switched. Well, it didn't say just switched, but it was like the first public announcement. So people thought this was done today, but it was actually, it came out that he's been with this agent for 5 months. So then now people are doing like, the Charlie Day, like meme where he's like pointing, trying to connect all the dots. Right. And so people are like, okay, well, they've got the guy, the agent went to Northwestern. His main office is in Chicago. So now it's tied to Chicago. Right. So like, it's like any information at this point, we're all, not just us, but other fan bases right now that are looking for head coaches, particularly Ben Johnson, like any piece of information, we're trying to take that small amount of information and figure out how it benefits or doesn't benefit our team. And so like you said, you put it perfectly. It was like, if you'd have asked us when we did our show, the last show, we were like, well, it seems like he's going to the Raiders. Like we felt that's not like nothing's a done deal. But if you're going to say what the PR was saying was 100% Raiders. And then it's been a complete switch, particularly from people on the ESPN side. So like Adam Schefter, Jeremy Fowler, they're kind of like, hey, relax a little bit. So yeah, it's interesting. Like you still have, if we're kind of looking at some of the top guys and their perspectives, you have Jeremy Fowler and you have Adam Schefter from ESPN saying, hey, nothing's really done yet. Chicago's still in the mix, and I don't know why they're being slept on. Then you have people like, oh my gosh, where can't I think of from Good Morning Football, Mike Garofalo. No, I think he's still NFL. I can't remember, but you know what I'm talking about.
He might be NFL. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So he was saying that
a lot of reports.
Yeah, it's going to the Raiders. And then you also had a couple Raiders beat writers that are like, oh,
I don't believe them for shit.
Well, that's fair. Definitely fair. And then you also had one more. Oh my gosh, it's just Monday Morning Quarterback, Albert Breer. He then also said that it looks like he's going to Raiders. That was again like last week, or like signs are pointing to that. So really kind of split right now, which doesn't help out either fan base because I'd almost rather have nothing. Like just let me speculate on my own, right? No information in, but now we keep getting pulled left and right, back and forth with all these new tidbits that come out. So still a waiting game. A question for you though, Dave, and I think really a question for all Bears fans is going into this weekend, there's a big matchup, Lions versus Commanders. Okay.
It's today, right?
Yes, it is actually. I think it is. It's Saturday night. Two major implications with this game. Okay. Two scenarios here. As we know, the Lions, they're in our division, so there's obviously some sort of feeling towards that. But also, there's a tie to two of the potential candidates, Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. let's focus on Ben Johnson, right? If the Lions lose, we now get the opportunity to get the in-person interview with Ben Johnson. That ball can get rolling, okay? But if the Lions lose, that means the Commanders won. So then the implications of Ryan Poles is that Ryan Poles decided to stick with Matt Eberflus instead of hiring someone who established coach like Dan Quinn. And which I know we don't feel this way, but like a social perspective is that look at Jaden Daniels. Did the Bears get the wrong guy, right?
Well, even Cliff Kingsbury too. Shane,
well.
you interviewed him and said no.
Yeah.
And then went with Shane Waldron, who was fired 9 games in. So yeah, exactly. It's all of it is such a bad perspective. But what is your final question?
No, that's a great point. So basically you have one side with the Commanders is basically the Ryan Poles fuck ups, right? But that's what the national media is going to view it as.
Amplified.
On the other side is the quickness or the frequency we can get to Ben Johnson and get that ball rolling. So when it comes tonight, not from like who you personally want to win, like who you're voting for, but like what benefits the Bears, I would say, or even what personal, it's fine. Who would you rather win? And then give me a reason why.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be rooting for the Commanders, just because I like Jaden Daniels. Like, I would have picked Caleb. I still would have picked Caleb. Right now, I think JD's having an insanely great year. However, everything is gone right for him this year. And I'm not saying, it's all, that it's on him or anything. I mean, it pays to be lucky sometimes, right? You got the Hail Mary, you got some crazy plays that he's made. The Commanders won on last week on a doink, right?
Yeah, they've done everything the Bears haven't, basically.
Yeah.
All the luck went
exactly.
to them.
Excuse me there, but I would say I don't ever want to see an NFC North team outside the Bears win the Super Bowl. And so I know the Lions are, cool story, but I hope it stops here, especially with the case now. First of all, Ryan Poles has already been mocked. If Jaden Daniels wins one more game, so be it. If he goes on to win a Super Bowl or something, okay, maybe that's completely different, but it's such an outlier as well. But for me personally, I want to see the Commanders win. That way, this coaching cycle, it can just be sped up like tenfold, right? Because essentially, if he loses today, the Bears should probably have a decision sometime next week, late next week, in regards to who they're going to pick. Because I guarantee you, by Monday or Tuesday, they're going to have Ben Johnson in the building having that interview, unless Ben needs some time to recoup or something like that. But I think he understands that they need to get this ball rolling quickly if they are going to become if they're going to get started on, obviously the draft, free agency, and everything like that. So my best bet, Commanders win in a really good game, and then we get to see Ben Johnson. We get to see the plans actually unfold in regards to where the Bears are going to go. So what about you?
That's all fair. Let me give a devil's advocate. I'm not even sure where I stand, to be honest, which might be a cop-out answer. I don't know. But I was talking to, my girlfriend's family, we talk sports all the time, but he's from New York, and so he's a Jets fan, right? So he understands the pain and suffering of like inept front offices, teams just not performing, just shitty organizations, right? And so I was texting with him this week, and he sent me a comment or a text. I was like, you know what? I kind of want to see the Lions do it because it shows exactly, or it's a perfect template, right? Or inspiration behind a team that for decades, I would say they were worse than the Bears, have been awful. The Bears have lost a lot, but remember, the Bears have not had multiple seasons of 0-16. The Lions went twice. No team had ever done it once.
They've gone twice?
I think so.
Holy
maybe
crap.
once, at least once. If not, it was like 1-15. It is. The point is, it is historically bad, right? And even when they had weapons, right, kind of like how we did now with like Stafford and Megatron, they still couldn't get to the playoffs. Actually, when they made it to the playoffs last year, it ended the longest NFL drought of from getting to the playoffs. So I say all of that. Obviously, being in the NFC North, you don't want to see your guys go up, but is it good? Or does that bring like motivation to a fan base like ours to be like, literally look like 200 miles, go one state up, and you can see that all it takes is the right coach and a good quarterback, and you can really flip things around. right?
Yeah.
So that's
and Detroit's hurting
yeah.
too. I know they're getting maybe a player or two back on that defense, but I really think that I think the spread's what, +10 though? 10.
Yeah, it's
It's
high.
not. Yeah, the Lions are favored heavily. However, I think the Commanders have played in such weird games. I think if they can keep it close, they definitely have a chance just because they're so lucky this year. It seems like it's like almost destiny. But for me, I really just want this coaching search to be over with. It's been it's long, man. I don't think it's been like over 2 weeks, but I feel like it's been like 2 months.
Yeah.
You know,
well, it's because we've known for a minute. It's different. It's not like Flus just got fired. This has been a month and a half. It's just now we can actually go do the interview. So we already knew who our top candidates were, right? Once Flus was fired, we knew that Ben Johnson, right? Because that's what we wanted, like even earlier in the season. And we knew Mike Vrabel. The only piece that we didn't really have an idea about was Mike McCarthy, right? So that kind of got flipped out. And then also, I kind of want to bring this up, Dave, before we get to the report that dropped earlier today about Mike Tomlin. We'll get to that. But the report that was dropped by, I think, was it Colin Kane or
Colin Kaler?
Yes, about the Trace Armstrong ties and the Chicago Bears. I want to get your thoughts on that. I knew, I think you probably did too, that like Flus and Poles both came from Trace Armstrong. And just to give context here, Trace Armstrong, pro athlete, a previous athlete, defensive end, but he ended up, once he was done with the NFL, started his own agency, and he represents a lot of head coaches and GMs in the NFL, okay? What's particular about that? Nothing wrong. Trace is doing his job. Nothing wrong with Trace. No shame there. What's interesting, though, is in this report, it showed that like 6 coaches or like 6 front office people are tied to Trace Armstrong's agency. So starting off with Matt Eberflus, Ryan Poles, Shane Waldron. You can go all the way back to Matt Nagy. And I think there's like the OC before. I can't remember. But anyways, basically.
Mike Ditka.
Even all the way back. That's what I'm saying, yeah. But it basically goes, like, if you look at the past 2 regimes, like especially the highest positions, it's tied to Trace. And what's the issue with that is from a outside perspective, at least, is that were you looking really elsewhere, or is there some back end deal where like Trace is benefiting, Bears get the first shot at these guys? You know what I mean? And there was a report with like Ryan Poles too, like trusting his gut because he heard about Flus through through the agency. It just doesn't seem like a well thought out process when it comes to hiring. Like you shouldn't have all your ducks in one pond, or you should be able to look elsewhere. And so I want to get your opinion on it first, but I also want to say this is that it makes me actually more okay with the process they're doing now. Like, sure, it's annoying. You know that all of those are not going to be finalists, but based off that report, it seems like their search wasn't as deep, right? As Poles said, you're not turning every stone as what you would like. So if they're course correcting and maybe they're, going a little bit overboard, I'm more happy with that than continuing the path that they had previously done, because obviously that hadn't worked out. Out of all of those people from the Trace Armstrong, the 6 of them, I think, the only person left standing to this day is Ryan Poles. So that's not a good sign. So anyways, just want to get full context on that. But Dave, what's your thought on that report that came out?
Yeah, when I firstly read, it's hard to take the Bears serious sometimes. Like it didn't shock me, right? We've had a couple bomb or stories kind of just dropped on us that are just very Bearsy, right? And this one felt just like that. I would say that this latest cycle, and we're going to get to it here with the lead here, which was the Tomlin story that dropped by Shefty this morning. I think that they cannot hire somebody that has that agent, right? And I think you kind of debunked it early on. You said Ben Johnson is not
thank God
represented by Armstrong. So for me, I think it's just I'm not shocked by it. It just feels like the Bears they just do the Bears things. However, this time around, I feel like they've cast such a wide net, which I have dunked on them before. I think they are interviewing some candidates that just don't make any sense. Definitely feel like a waste of time. However, you got to understand here, all they have right now is time, because Ben Johnson, if that's the guy they want, the number one guy, if it goes Ben Johnson and then McCarthy, then you have all the time in the world to do your due diligence, interview whoever you want, go to dinner with Mike McCarthy. You have all this time to do all these things, get all this information before you get one last shot and see if Ben Johnson, the guy you want to cut a huge check to. And so I wasn't shocked by it. What about you, Ficky? I am curious on your thoughts on it.
I do want to give a shout out here to YouTube. That's a funny name on YouTube. But he said one of them was Bill Lazor. I forgot. That was the passing coordinator, I think, from the OC from the last regime. But yeah, a great
There was a comment here on YouTube that said, wow, this is early. And this is an early pod.
This is an early pod. It isn't. You are correct. You are even earlier for you Central Time people. But yes, it's definitely an early one. Still a lot talked about that, which is good. But thoughts on it? I mean, yeah, I think you nailed it perfectly. Like, you're not shocked. You're not, and it makes sense when your team has not been good for a while. Or let's put it like, take the team away, so we have no bias in this, right? If you go to a company, right, and it's poorly run, right, they don't make sales, or you go in there, the place isn't clean, whatever it is, you're not shocked when years later there's a docuseries that comes out telling all these, like, oh wow, look at this went wrong. You could tell walking into the place, you're like, this isn't really a well-run organization. This isn't a fine establishment. You know what I mean? So you're not surprised when that stuff happens out. That's how we feel about this team, because good teams, that doesn't mean things don't happen, but their performance on the field typically hides those stories. And I actually want to bring up something that came out as well. I don't know if it came out, but people were talking about it again. But every year they do like whatever year it is, right? Last year they did this year they did 2024 report cards, and it looks at 2023. Yeah, and that basically
that out?
I don't know. I saw DWC.
I can't find it.
Yeah, Rashad posted it, but I thought it came out earlier.
Is it on the Athletic?
I don't know. It might be out, but it looks at, just for preface, it looks at 2023. So all the changes that Kevin Warren made and whatnot this year would not be reflected on that. We'll have to wait for next year. But I say all of that. You found it? Good. I say all of that. Maybe we can go over the Chicago Bears one in a second. But I was looking at the Kansas City Chiefs one. And what's interesting about their report card, right? Because we're talking about bad run organizations, right? You look at the Bears, you think, yeah, they probably have some bad grades on there. The Kansas City Chiefs have horrible grades. Horrible across the board. Their ownership got graded an F. The Hunt family, the players hate them. I've heard stories, players, somehow they don't like them. They're very cheap, right? Just not great, okay? They are going on a three-peat right now, as you know. But you know what the best grade they have on that card is? Head coach. I think head coach is an A+, okay? That makes sense. If there was a grade for quarterback, there's not. That would be an A+. So you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, no one from an outside PR perspective says, wow, what a shitty organization, right? But inside the building, it seems like people are kind of feeling that way, particularly players and those interviewed. But you know what covers that up? Winning. What is the main factors into those winning seasons and winning Super Bowls? Your head coach. And I get this is an outlier, Hall of Fame, future Hall of Fame quarterback, future Hall of Fame coach too. But I say all that to be like, those are the most important two things. So coming into this season, okay, this offseason that we talked about, that is why it's so important for that head coach, okay? I'm not worried about what George is doing in the back end, if he's involved in the media, if, obviously we want the facilities, all that stuff to be nice for the players, but that stuff is second, always comes in second to two things. The head coach, which you're hoping is Ben Johnson or McCarthy, which would still be an upgrade. Those are I would think, B candidates if I'm forecasting out. And your quarterback. Yeah. And your quarterback right now, potential is at least an A, but right now you're probably looking like a B-. So if you can get those two right, that is how you have sustained long success for decades on decades. And you've seen
I think
go ahead.
I was going to say, you had a tweet, I thought it was you, that shared a graph of like potential improvement. Was it from?
Yeah, from PFF.
And the Bears were third.
Yeah.
And it was based on head coaching or front office.
It was basically three. Yeah, it was 3 portions.
Do you want to bring it up?
Yeah, let me actually see.
So you can tell me, because I thought it was interesting because the Bears they were third on that list when you combined everything. Cap space. I thought it was like coaching staff
It was restructured contracts. That was one of them, like contracts you can move on from or restructure.
Mm-hmm.
But let me actually pull up the exact tweet. But yeah, they're in good position, right? Which is what we think. We think polls for that. Yeah. Right. We talk about the polls misses, but this is the one where he definitely did not. And that's not mortgaging this future. Okay. So let me share real quick.
Apologize.
No, you're good. You're good. Bear with us for a second. No pun intended or pun intended, y'all. Let me get here and then share real quick. Okay. So as you can see here, this is the 2025 off-season assets grouped by draft capital, cap space, and restructure potential. So this is basically more about like money, but head coach will also add to this, right? So, and it's funny enough. Yeah. It's funny enough because if you look at the top three, those are the top three spots for the head coaches, right? Mike Vrabel, where did he go? Number 1, Patriots. The battle between Ben Johnson is the Raiders and the Bears. And then Mike McCarthy is targeted to the Bears and then the Saints. We're actually far down on this one, but he used to work for the Saints. So that's how that works. But if we're looking at this graph, what we see here, which is most important, is that it breaks up into 3 particular parts. You have effective cap space, which is in, I'm not good with colors. I'm assuming that's purple.
Purple.
Thank you. You have draft capital, which I think is like a lime green. And then, and then you have restructured potential orange.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. Look at that. That's great. Not bad for being colorblind. Okay. So you're looking at the Bears. The Bears are right there in par when you look at draft capital, which makes sense, right? We have 2 seconds this year, a high first.
Unfortunately, we're not getting that third for Ian Cunningham, though.
Correct. Because he did not get the GM job for the Titans.
I feel for him a little bit. Isn't that the second time he's gone for the Titans?
Yep. Bro, I'm telling you though, the Bears are not doing him justice. Like if we start winning, his value is going to go up. That's what always happens.
It's hard to go with somebody who's. I mean, they're doing everything. Like you look right here in regards to the cap space and draft capital, but the W's are not there.
They're not there at all. So the advantage here from the Patriots and the Raiders is they do have a little bit more cap space. I think like the restructured potential is we actually lead both of them, but they have more cap. But that makes sense because when you look at their roster versus our roster is significantly better than both of those teams. Both of those teams are drafting where you would expect them to draft coming up, right? The Bears are not. People like Nick Wright, a lot of people had them as a playoff team. We had them as a playoff team. So this is almost more promising because we know we underperformed and we can easily jump like down in this area. So a good graph to show. You tie that in with the potential, like you said, Dave, of having a new head coach like Ben Johnson. This team could really go from last, maybe not to first because this is a tough division, but it is possible, right? And we saw them do it in 2018 season. The season before 2016, they were dead last. No one had us anywhere near the top. In the following year, in a division with Aaron Rodgers, right, still in his peak, we went 12-4 and jumped up to the first. So I think that's good that you brought that up because if you tie that all in with how important this offseason, I know we said that last offseason too, but the more information I've gathered of like how heavily weighted the head coach really is, which we learned from this offseason. Like we learned by looking at other teams and then looking at our team, how important a head coach really is because he can elevate, or at least if he's not, maximizing his players' talent, game management aspect, last 2 minutes of the half, last 2 minutes of the game. We learn in the NFL, it comes down to inches. And a lot of times the game is determined within those buckets.
Probably 3 to 4 losses last year were due to mismanagement in those 2 minutes, final 2 minutes, end of game situations, which are huge.
Even the year before that.
That's why the Bears they lead them. What is it? The margin for, I guess, the revamp in the coaching staff because of how awful it was last year. Not even just from the head coach, but from honest to God, the OC, Shane Waldron, I think was a worse hire than anybody on that staff. Eberflus at least was a savant on the defensive side, right? Shane Waldron, I don't know if he's going to get a shot as an OC in a very long time. He's probably going to go back to being just like a positional coach or something along those lines because it was just detrimental, especially when it comes to the what was said about him in the locker room when he was there and after he left, of course. So
for sure,
I think it's interesting.
Not just there, but in Seattle. So now he's kind of got a track record of not great. I would say representation. So
someone said it's not early; it's 3 p.m. That's true. That's
that's for you, Michael. That's our OG, and he's in the UK. So
yeah,
shout out, Michael.
Love it, man.
A
little bit easier. So I want to go back to the report card you brought up because it was administered from August 26th to November 16th, 2023. And so, yeah, it really doesn't have the last year and a half or so. Is that right?
Yeah.
But the Bears are actually a little surprising. So treatment of families, they have a C+. Food cafeteria was a C. Nutritious dietitian was a C+. Locker room was an A-. Training room was a B+. Training staff was a B. Weight room, of course, was an A. Strength coaches were B. Team travel was a B. Head coach, a B. Now, this is, again, 2023.
Yeah.
And then the owner was a B+, which is kind of crazy.
I'm not surprised by that because it's not.
Dude, the Cowboys are a B in ownership.
That's a little wild because I figured most people do not like Jerry. But I mean, it's look with our ownership with the Bears. When you talk about like a person aspect, there's nothing wrong with the McCaskies. Or the family. They're very good people, like down to earth. Like for having that type of money, you typically would see them more like how other billionaires are acting. So I'm not surprised by that. The problem is they don't necessarily know football. Like he's come out to press conferences and be like, "Hey, I'm a fan just like y'all." And so because of that, you need someone in there, which now they have a president, right, with Kevin Warren, who understands a little bit more of the football aspect. So I don't think it's like, I know when we're heated and whatnot, it's like sell the team. But if we look at some of these good teams, their owners are kind of great, like Kraft, like ownership. Like you hear stories about Kraft, they're like, yo, that's a no-go. But you know what? You had Belichick and you had Tom Brady. So I think it's less about the McCaskies. They are the overseers. It is theirs. So they do have a responsibility of the blame. I'm not absolving them from that. But the issue isn't our owner. Like if you're talking about stack ranking, the issue is the Chicago Bears have never had a great quarterback. They now have the opportunity to have one, potentially asterisk that, right? And they haven't had a good or great offensive head coach since Mike Ditka. So there's your issues right there. It's always been defense. And when it's offensive sided, it's not great. You know what I mean? It doesn't elevate. And obviously you need a quarterback to do that. So they're hand in hand. So I'm hoping this offseason, I feel good that we've checked one box, at least from the data we have. I'm hoping we can check another. And then I think we will be in territory that we have never been in our lifetime.
The thing is, if Caleb Williams is who we think he can be, same thing if you land Ben Johnson, if he is who you think he can be. And then if not, say you go and you settle and you get Mike McCarthy, that's still a vast improvement than Eberflus. He's still offensively gifted. He knows how to develop QBs. Whether you like him or not, he's going to be a very good floor for Caleb and this team. And so you like it. You like what you can see from both of those angles. My thing here, there's a question. How is Chris Morgan? So basically the current offensive line coach is Chris Morgan.
Question.
It's his third season. He's not going to be here. I think he's still employed right now, but the next staff that comes in, I would be shocked. Yeah, is out of here.
And they should. Look, this is the worst winning percentage tenure of 3 years. And it doesn't mean everybody in the building was bad. I'm not saying that. There were good people, right? Like everyone talks up Chris Beatty, the wide receivers coach. I think Thomas Brown was a good asset in the building. As we know, you don't get promoted like that. We saw what he did as offensive coordinator. But the new staff comes in. You have to restart. You have to, because what you had in there was not working. And it wasn't just a 1-year thing. It was multiple years. You just need a cultural reset, bring in new people, and start from ground up. So, and that's typically what happens anyways. Once in a while, you'll see like the offense, like if a head coach comes in, right? Let's just say it's either of these guys, Mike McCarthy or Ben Johnson, and your defense has been solid, right? Sometimes they'll be like, oh, no, I love what you're doing on the defensive side. I'll roll with you. You'll see that, or vice versa. Defense comes in, they say, hey, look, I love what you've done on the offensive side. We'll keep it going. But in this case, neither side has been working, right? Particularly since Eberflus has been canned. So I just think whoever comes in is already going to clean house. And if it's McCarthy's already got, you brought up, you talked about the report, like he's got his team ready to rock and roll. So best believe there's not a single soul.
His key positions he probably has them already locked up and has a plan B or plan C for everything. So
and probably the same with Ben Johnson too, but for sure McCarthy, they're cleaning everybody. There's not
Ben will be very interesting to see what he can
pull.
Like, I know he's a very hot candidate in regards to, traction he's getting, but like, does that mean top vet type guys, veterans in this league are going to, or is it just going to be a young staff all around? I doubt that. I bet he's going to want some experience, people that have done it before.
Or does he pull? Because sometimes you'll see, do they pull like a decent amount from the Lions?
Yeah.
You'll see that sometimes. And that wouldn't be bad. Like, hey, bring the guys
Yeah.
If they're down to go with you. Of course, you'd be leaving Dan Campbell. So there's a little bit of
we need to pull their analytics guy. Which I don't even know if Dan Campbell listens.
Yeah,
Dan Campbell even listens to him. I think he just goes off his gut.
He said fourth down, we're going for it.
All he sees is green, man. Time to go.
For sure. But yeah, well, that's a good point. It'll be interesting to see who he brings over. So yep.
Well, hey, before we get to the second half of the show, we're gonna start it off with Mike Tomlin, of course, and that report from Shefty. If you're here early in the morning, hit that like button. We're going to go through an ad read here. Ficky, you want to go ahead and do that?
Before we do that, I forgot about Tito. He did give a super chat here earlier. Sorry for the wait, Tito. We kind of went on a rant there, but $5 super chat here on YouTube. First off, shout out Tito. Appreciate that. He said, don't see him going to the Raiders. This is in regards to Ben Johnson. Aren't they paying 4 coaches still that they fired? Yes, they are. Dave talked about that last time on the show. And now they're going to pay for the most expensive one. Don't see it. It's a good point. But Mark Davis does have a lot of money. So, I mean, if he's got the money, it'll be interesting to see. But appreciate the super chat.
Thank you, Tito. Appreciate
that. And speaking of OGs like Tito, if you are an OG on the show, which means you've watched the show more than once, this is not your first time, please give a hashtag OG in the chat. We'll give you a shout out before the end of the show like we always do. And if this is your first time on a fine Saturday morning, first off, thank you for joining the BFR pod. We are the #1 show that is for the fans, by the fans. So fans like y'all, Dave and I are also fans, so we go through the same pain and misery and joy and excitement as y'all do. So thank you for tuning in on the BFR pod on an early Saturday morning. But if you are new, again, thank you. Like and subscribe, and then also give a hashtag new face gang in the chat. Again, hashtag new face gang in the chat. We'll give you a shout out before the end of the show, and we always do this because we love showing support to y'all as always. So again, if you want to support us free, all you have to do is like. You don't even have to do it now. You can do it after the show, whenever. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, because those subscriptions and the likes just help push the unity here going strong, so we can ascend when this team ascends at some point, or when the Ben Johnson news breaks. We can all hop on here and scream for our fucking minds that, the Bears finally did something right. Now, speaking of the community, we're also building it over here on the Patreon. So you can join our Patreon. That's the BFR Den, where we have monthly exclusives like monthly giveaways, private Zoom calls, mailbag episodes, and much, much more. Just sent out the monthly giveaway to our Hall of Fame Grizzly member, Michael, for he won a beanie, our BFR beanie. So shout out to him. Also, we will have our private Zoom probably later this month. I need to drop the schedule for January, and then we'll have for February as well. And if you want access to our private Zoom call where you get to talk to Dave, I, and Jack, you have to join our Hall of Fame tier, which is our Hall of Fame Grizzly tier, $10 a month. You get the private Zoom call. You also get everything else that's in our Rookie Grizzly tier. And in our Rookie Grizzly tier, we have like things like access to our private Discord. You get the monthly giveaways. We do our mailbag episodes when we have enough questions in there. And just we're working on more value. We'll revamp some stuff for the new season here coming up so that we can keep bringing more value for y'all. And that's only like $3 a month. That's less than a cup of coffee a month. And then $10 a month for the Hall of Fame tier. That's like maybe 2 cups. So really not too expensive. And we think that we bring enough value for y'all. So if you want to join, you can go to the BFR Den on patreon.com. Also, if you want to join for free on there, you can do that. You'll get access to like our shows, obviously get posted there, and you can see our monthly schedule. So you can kind of see like what's the value that we're providing in there. And also, if you join, right, whether a rookie or Hall of Fame tier, you get shout outs on every one of our shows. So let's give a shout out to our Hall of Fame Grizzly members. First off, shout out to Michael for joining this not so early pod for him across the pond, 3 p.m. over there in the UK. And then shout out Gage as well. Thank y'all for being Hall of Fame members. We really do appreciate it. And then for our rookie Grizzly members, shout out Alex, who's probably lifting at the gym as we speak. Brian, we got Chris, Jason, and then also Eston. Much love. Appreciate all the support. Because again, we wouldn't do the show without y'all. Again, this is the number one show. The BFR Pod is the number one show for the fans, by the fans. Okay, also, if you want to support us, we do have merch, and we are working on new merch. And I know it's cold everywhere. So, like, if you want to get stacked up with some hats, like I said, you can win some of this merch in the Patreon as well. Like, you can see the black beanie there that I just sent to Michael. You should be getting that today. We got hats, hoodies, shirts, working on new designs, a bunch of cool stuff for the new season. So, if you want to support us, you can go to thebfrstore.com. Again, that is thebfrstore.com. Both the proceeds for the Patreon and the store goes right back into the show. So we just take that money, figure out how we can make this show better, get more value out, upgrade here and there. We don't pocket it. We're really just trying to build more and more value for y'all. So we really do appreciate the support. And really, you're kind of paying for more stuff for yourself. So if you want to do that, much appreciated. Also, if you don't, if you don't, no pressure, nothing like that. We appreciate y'all just being here on a Saturday morning with us. Just like and subscribe. That's all we ask. It's for the algorithm. It'll help get the show out, and we appreciate that. We also, last one here, we want to thank our sponsor, our new sponsor here, Green Gridiron. Let me share real quick because their stuff is too good to not show what they got here. All right, so we got Green Gridiron here. So what they do is they have a bunch of helmets, which I think are fantastic. Now, you can see here, they have a whole bunch of different designs. Actually, the orange one that I love is actually sold out. That one, I can see why, because people really rock with that. But you can go to greengridiron.com. We have the link in our description as well. And if you use code BFR, you'll get a discount on your first order. But if you're looking through here, look, they got some even super, like this is a little Pocket Pro one, like a little mini one for $10. They've got a mug for you there for $12. One I'm personally looking at is I love this mini helmet right here. And it's on sale as well. It's the classic black and white, like old school. They need to bring this back, by the way. So I'm going to probably rock with that. And then also right here, they have this like Bears Infinity logo light, which would be perfect to post right back there. But if you also want some of the big boy stuff, like they've got real replicates here for like $150, a bunch of great stuff. I mean, like if you really want to flex on your boys or friends when they come over and you have this like just sitting on like a shelf or something, this is the place to do it. So go to greengridiron.com or go look in our description, hit the link, use code BFR, and you should get, well, you will, not should, you will get a discount off of your first order. So the shout out Green Gridiron. Appreciate you guys supporting the show. And that is it, Dave. Back to you.
Yeah. No, Green Gridiron. There, I mean, Ficky, you have a little bit of space back there. You need to get one of the big helmets.
No, it's ideal.
Big
It'd
one.
Be perfect right there. I'll shift some of the
Legos. I almost want
to.
Yeah, somebody's got to gift it for you. Or if you're not going to buy it, like I love it. I think it would be a good little spot for you.
I think I will. I was looking at them. I'm a little indecisive on which one to get, and I already have a mini one. I think from them for IU back. Oh, you can't see it, but there's an IU one back there. So I'll definitely get a mini, that black and white one for sure, and then maybe the throwback with the, you know what I'm talking about, where they did the 100-year anniversary, like that orange curve. I'll probably get that and put it back there. But yeah.
No, shout out to Green Gridiron. They're one of my favorite sponsors that we've partnered with here at the BFR Podcast. Just because they make a lot of sense. They are Bears related. So obviously it makes sense to have a Bears podcast, have Bears sponsors. So we appreciate them. Also, shout out to Sports Mockery. That's where I write for the Bears as well, cover the team.
Check out his stuff.
You can check out all the Bears stuff over there, but also every other sport in Chicago, the Bulls, Sox, Cubs, Blackhawks, you get all that stuff. So again, check out them at sportsmockery.com, and you can see where I write for the Bears as well over there. So, but most important, like Ficky said, if you guys can support by just hitting that like button right now, along with subscribing, we appreciate it. That's the number one way to help out the show. We're almost at 10,000 subs. So we'd love to get there before the start of next season, which gives us plenty of time. So we appreciate y'all and what you do. So Ficky, great job on that. Am I missing anything before we move on?
I will say one other shout out for Green Gridiron is they do have college stuff as well. So if you don't want to get something Bears or you want to get Bears plus like your favorite college NCAA stuff, they have a bunch of stuff on that as well. So you can double down on there. A lot of high quality stuff. And I think we had a couple sports Mockery helmets made. So if you want some custom ones as well. So I'm excited to see what
our
those
guy Chris, who's the president of Sports Mockery, he got some really cool stuff. I think he got one that was half Bears and then half SM.
That's cool.
And he also got like a visor, I think, on it as well. Just pretty sick stuff.
Like I'm saying, if you really want to flex on your people, like this is definitely the place to do it. So I'll definitely get a mini. Hopefully I can get that by next month, and I'll have that right back there for us.
But hey, we almost had 50 people in the chat right here. So there's no reason not to hit that like button. We should at least have 50 likes if we have 50 people in the chat. So we appreciate y'all. But now let's get to the news of the morning. And we wanted to hold it here, get through a couple other things before we did. But this morning, Adam Schefter reported the Bears' trade request for Mike Tomlin was rebuffed by the Steelers. So let me go ahead and get into the details here. The Bears recently called the Steelers to see if they would be allowed to talk to and potentially try to trade for longtime head coach Mike Tomlin, only to have Pittsburgh rebuff their inquiry, league sources told ESPN. Discussions never made it to Tomlin, nor is it likely they would have been successful even if they did. When asked earlier this week about the idea that a team could inquire about his availability, when in fact at least one team already did, Tomlin responded with, "Save your time." That cracks me up, dude. He honestly,
because he probably said it straight up like that. He was like, "No."
Yeah, I wish. Like, I love Ben Johnson, but if you could give me Mike Tomlin in Chicago, it would be one of the best gifts of the last 10 years for me. Like, would that not be sick to have Tomlin here in the press conferences he gives, and also, of course, everything that comes with it in regards to his pedigree? So, anyways, it's not going to happen. But at least one other team, this is interesting too. So another team, not just the Bears, checked into the idea that it could somehow trade for Tomlin, only to be informed that the Steelers coach has a no-trade clause in the contract, according to the league source. The inquiring team quickly halted its efforts and moved on.
I think it's the Jets. I don't know. I thought for some reason it gave me like it's got to be one of those two big market ones, right?
You don't think it's Las Vegas?
I feel
like they would do it, bro. I think Brady and
maybe Brady. Tomlin. No, that's a good point. It's probably the same. Those top three. It's got to be one.
That's what I'm saying.
Right?
You know,
everybody wants these top guys.
So though the other teams have been interested in Tomlin, the Steelers have no interest in moving on from him, despite Pittsburgh's 5th consecutive one-and-done trip to the playoffs. Oh my God, that's terrible. Tomlin signed a 3-year contract last offseason that makes him one of the league's highest-paid head coaches. After 18 seasons in Pittsburgh, his time there shows no signs of letting up, despite any frustrations from the fan base. I understand the nature of what it is, that what we do, the attention, the criticism that comes with it, Tomlin said Tuesday in his off-season ending news conference. As a matter of fact, I embrace it. Quite to be honest with you, I enjoy the urgency that comes with what I do and what we do. I don't make any excuses for failure. I own it, but I also feel like I'm capable. And so as long as I'm afforded an opportunity to that, I will continue. But I certainly understand their frustrations, and probably more important than that, I share it because that's how I'm wired. But in the eyes of some sources, Chicago deserves credit for at least making the call. The Bears recognize the type of leader and coach Tomlin is. In an effort to exhaust all possibilities, they even tried to reach out to the Steelers. Even without Tomlin in the mix, the Bears have cast a wide net in their head coaching search. The Bears have already completed interviews with Thomas Brown, Pete Carroll, Brian Flores, Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, Mike Kafka, Mike McCarthy, Tom Monken, Drew Petzing,
Matt Campbell.
Oh my God, Ron Rivera, David Shaw, and then Mike Vrabel, and of course the Dolphins DC Anthony Weaver. The Bears have requested interviews with Bills OC Joe Brady, Iowa State Matt Campbell, Commanders offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury, and Packers offensive coordinator Adam Stankovich. The Steelers have only had 3 coaches. Anyways, I think that's basically the gist of it all. I think. First of all, I just want to get your thoughts. When you first heard the news, like I said, you were up early this morning. What were your thoughts about this?
First, that dropped really early. I feel like
when was it?
It was like
I woke up and it had already been out for like an hour or two.
Yeah, it was up at like I think like 7
damn, I gotta get up early.
I wook up at 6:30 and I think I saw it around like then. So it 6:30 my time. It was like 5:30 Central Time. So it was already. Schefter did not sleep last night, I guess. So that's what I got from that.
Does he just get like, he must have his phone on, and so when he gets a text, he acts on it.
Oh no, he says he brings his phone into the shower and will be like it's pretty intense
because he doesn't want to miss anything.
Yeah, well, especially for like certain times, like if it's during like free agency and stuff, he said he's never putting his phone down. Because again, it's all these, it's really, he's just getting all these texts from people about stuff and he's got to get ahead of it and all that. But what that says though, because what I've learned about Schefter, Rappaport, all these reporters, right? They're fed information. There's nothing wrong with that, but they're fed information, right? It's not like they did some investigator research and found this stuff out, right? Some agent or some party gave them the information. What's important about this, there's two things, but from a PR perspective, this 100%, like the Bears were the only team named. The other team, there's another team out there. So that means someone from the Bears organization was like, please get these fans off our back. Please let them know that we are doing things we have not done before. We are trying. We promise you. So then we see these reports and we go on podcasts like this, or the number one Bears podcast, the BFR Podcast, and we talk about, wow, the Bears might be doing things right. You know what I mean? It's definitely a PR move, which doesn't make it wrong. It's not bad. Not that they tried to get a trade. That's legitimate. But the report coming out is definitely saving face because of what's transpired over the past 12 months. Now, the second portion, right? We know that's good from a PR standpoint. The second portion, which you tweeted about, which is great. Right now, currently, Mike Tomlin, I think, is tied for second or third for how much he makes. Andy Reid's like $20 million, and then Tomlin and two other guys are like $16 million a year, okay? That is way more than what Eberflus. I think Eberflus, I think reports came out, he was 11 or something like that, and that was the most in Bears history.
I thought he was 8.
8. Either way, it was the most. The reports came out like it was the most they paid for a head coach, okay? If you're willing to trade for Tomlin, that means you are paying that $16 million, okay? So that means
if not
more, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're giving up draft capital for it. So it's like you are definitely going all in. It is promising when you then look in regards to someone like a Mike McCarthy who would easily acquire 15 plus, and then a Ben Johnson who you probably think would be at least 14 plus as well. Probably in the same boat. His ceiling may not be as high as McCarthy because he has a longer resume, but their floors are exactly the same. And you're going to be in that top echelons of paying customers, right? Or paying clients. And the issue, or I guess the concern I think the fans had earlier on was, and I talked about it, the McCaskies are cheap, whether it's forceful or not. They don't have a lot of money. They don't have a giant net worth compared to some of these other billionaires. And just like other sports, there is no salary cap when it comes to coaches. So if the Raiders want to give John Gruden a 10-year was like $120 million deal, they can do it. And then they can just shed it and it doesn't matter. Like as long as the owner pays, it's good. There's no legal issues. We were concerned that the Bears would get outbid. This now tells me that they are at least open to opening that wallet and shoving out that money. And we haven't seen that before. And it actually brings me back to a comment you made a couple weeks ago where you're like, well, you know what? Kevin Warren wasn't cheap, right? They never had a president before, and they decided to pay Kevin Warren, right? We don't know how much that is, but it's probably a decent amount of money. So they fired a head coach. They've got a president in here, but they're paying good money. And now it looks like they're trying to trade for coaches / pay big money for top candidates. Go back to what I just previously said, like 10 minutes ago. We might be entering an era that we haven't seen before from Bears fans. A quarterback that can play. If you're not getting Ben Johnson, you're probably getting McCarthy, right? So probably from a resume standpoint, your best head coach you've had since Lovie Smith, right? No question there, right? Or even go back to Ditka. A new regime of a president, possible new stadium and, you know, the willingness to open up the pocketbook. Now, does all of that going to equate to a lot of wins next year? No idea. I'm not getting we're not getting super hyped up. Like, we're not doing what we did last year. I'm not saying that. But from at least like a high level view, a lot of this is promising. And tie it back to the graph, which we talked about. Ryan Poles, giving him credit for not mortgaging the future. There are opportunities for this team to turn it around. Like, there are opportunities there. Now it's about executing, getting the head coach, getting the stadium, continuing the growth with your quarterback. Like, it's all there. Will they do it? TBD. But they have the opportunity to do it. There's really no hurdles or things holding them back. Now, once I get, like, that was my last concern, was the pocketbook. And that report now makes me feel like I don't have to worry about that anymore. But what's your perspective? Two things. What's your perspective on it? And then, is there like a lingering concern that you still have holistically about this team?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm always going to there's always going to be something I'm worried about with this team. But I will say, you know, Ryan Poles, he stated earlier, basically in his, this was back on a couple weeks ago about the head coaching search. So it was the end of the season. He said, it was basically asked about, hey, would trading for a head coach be on the table? And he said that we're going to look at all avenues to get the best coach here. And so the fact that it wasn't, you know, lip service, that he is at least doing what he said he was going to do, it makes me feel a little bit better about the situation. That comment you made earlier, where I originally looked into it, Tomlin makes $16 million a year. So if he were to come over to Chicago, I guarantee you he wouldn't be taking a lateral pay. It would be an increase because he's moving his entire family. Two, he's taking a risk leaving Pittsburgh to go to Chicago. We don't know how unstable that is. So you're telling me he's coming over here for at least $20 million or more. That's what I would say. And so it would have been a very extension. So looking probably at 5 years, $20 million a year, easy over $100 million. And so I like that idea. But I think the biggest thing here is that if they're open to trade for him, it means they're willing to open the checkbook for Ben Johnson, who is not going to get $20 million a year. No. I think he could get. I was looking it up here in regards to what every. This one's just on it's just open internet. Top 10 highest paid coaches. It goes Andy Reid at $20 million, Sean Payton at 18, Tomlin at 16, Jim Harbaugh at 16, Sean McVay at 15, Shanahan at 14, John Harbaugh at $12 million, Dan Campbell, $11 million, Sean McDermott, $11 million, Mike McDonald, $9 million. So Eberflus was around that $8 million, I believe. So he was outside the top 10. And I would say around $15 million could be the amount that I think Ben Johnson gets, which it seems really high, but I think that's just, there's a demand for him. His agent's already doing a really good job at making that clear, that he's having a bidding war now with that. You're not just trying to land Ben Johnson. You're trying to beat these other two teams in Jacksonville, especially Las Vegas, when it comes to Tom Brady and just how the news and everything's been pushed that, hey, they're the favorite. And then of course we got the news the last 24 hours that no, both Chicago and Jacksonville are both still in it and very much still in it. So for me, I think that the fact that they were going to go this route, and it makes me also think about Sean McVay and other potential trade scenarios, right? So at least throw it out there, give a call and see kind of, hey, who else might be available? But at the same time, now I know that Ben Johnson is a real possibility, because one of my biggest fears was Bears are going to be cheap. They're not going to pay what he's going to want, and that's going to eliminate them and then allow it to be probably between Jacksonville and Las Vegas. So it makes me feel a lot better that the Bears at least have a decent shot. And now with the Detroit Lions playing today, if they lose, it's going to accelerate things. But I think the Bears are really just doing their due diligence and going every single route right now and doing their research before Ben Johnson becomes fully available, because they've done the Zoom interview, and some people say, oh, is that not enough? No, I don't think that's enough at all. I think they absolutely have to sit down with him Go have some dinner afterwards. Really get to know the person, in person, because Zoom is just, it doesn't do it justice. So I love it. I think the Bears they make me feel a lot better about this coaching search, hearing that they are able and willing to go. Because this is kind of uncomfortable, like just calling and being told, hell no. It could be a little embarrassing. Yeah, it could be a little frustrating, but I like that Ryan Poles and they're not leaving any stone unturned. Now there are some, the Packers OC job or OC
Matt
guy,
Campbell,
whatever his name.
Matt Campbell in college as well. Like there's a couple. You're like, come on. But
however,
whatever.
I will say the Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame is always interesting too. I would like to. He's not
even gonna.
If he wins the Natty, I think there's a possibility.
Possible.
But he will be expensive as well.
Yes, he will. Look, I would rather. You have two other better candidates. That's nothing against Marcus Freeman. Like your tier is Ben Johnson and Mike McCarthy. So if you don't get if we end up with Marcus Freeman, it better be because news broke that Ben Johnson went to the Raiders and Mike McCarthy went to the Saints. So the Bears didn't get a guy. That's all I'm saying. If it ends up, there is a possibility of getting Mike McCarthy, NFL head coach, tenured NFL head coach, and you didn't, and you went and took a bigger risk. Like Ben Johnson's already a risk as it is. We don't know how he is as a head coach, 0-0, but at least we know how he can call plays in the NFL. We don't even know that for Marcus Freeman. And that's no disrespect with Marcus Freeman, or AKA Morgan Freeman. Young Morgan Freeman is what we call him now. So, yeah, I just wouldn't be that great with it. But I do want to bring up one thing, Dave. You were actually spot on with that contract. So reports are showing that around $15 million annually for Ben Johnson. And there was a report, I should say, that the Raiders would be open to offering him 6 years, $15 million per, so $90 million deal.
I think the Bears are willing to match that, or if not,
better, bro.
I think they are. I think the Bears are not gonna. They're not gonna be outbid. I think they understand that this would be such a big PR win. The fans need it. Jordan McCaskey, end of the year, you could tell his frustrations. Like, he didn't handle it great, calling out the Bears fans for selling their tickets, even though he gave his box seats to the Detroit Lions.
The Lions fans? Okay. But
no, not the fans. The Lions personnel.
Yeah.
Their front office. Like, that was such a hypocritical thing to do, and I'm not surprised about it. But at the same time, you could tell that it bothered him when you heard the sell team chants. So the best way to win over the Bears fans right now, and just the media in general, is to get the big fish.
Win the head,
right?
The head coach and start winning games.
Pair him with Ben Johnson. Because if Ben Johnson fails, it's similar to like when they moving on from Justin Fields and going and getting and drafting Caleb Williams. No one was going to fault you for that. It was the right move. It was the smart move. Same thing with Ben Johnson. He flops. No one's gonna be like, how could they not hire Mike McCarthy? Blah blah blah.
You can't read a crystal
They're not going to do that.
Like,
yeah,
you just got to on paper.
Got
that's
the number one guy. Yeah. So for me, I think this could be just a huge PR win. I don't think the Raiders hype is as big as it was, and I love that it's being pushed back now in the last 24 to 48 hours.
Thank God.
So I feel really good, man. I feel really, really good.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I'm trying not to end up in the same position I was last offseason, but we do so well in the offseason that it's hard to not get on the hype train. I am pumping the brakes.
Well, we haven't done anything yet.
Well, no, I know, but I'm saying when you look holistically, like some of the stuff we talked about today, where it's like they have the opportunity, like they've got cap space, they've got draft picks, they are a top contender for the top two candidates. You know what I mean? Like, things still have to go right. You still have to draft the right people. You still have to shell out your money to the right people in free agency. You still have to get Ben Johnson. So they still have to execute. But there are you're not far away from getting those. Like, you're in position to get those. And it's not like that's like that's such a pipe dream example. While typically it is. You know what I mean? It's like you could do it. It's right there. Will they? That's what we have to find out. So if you want to find out, stay tuned, because we will have more episodes. And I don't think unless the Lions lose, I don't think Ben Johnson or Mike McCarthy will be hired until probably like Super Bowl. So, or maybe like a week before the Super Bowl where there's like
it just depends on when Detroit loses.
For sure. So
and I think that's when a lot of dominoes will fall because then you got Aaron Glenn, you got Brian Flores who's already looking. So
yep.
I like it. We'll be back. We'll be back next week with a couple episodes. We're working on getting a couple people on the show that would be really, really good. Ficky, anything else before we head out?
I just want to give the shout outs before we head out here. We did have one question here as well. Killmonger from Twitter said, Ficky, why'd you cut your hair? Just want to switch things up. Just like the Bears, got to try something new. So decided to switch it up. And then Michael from across the pond, a Hall of Fame Grizzly member as well, with a hashtag OG, hashtag Ben Johnson, 4 p.m. over there. Appreciate that. Also, got a notification. Your hat should be coming in the mail today, your beanie. So I know it's cold over in the UK right now, so hopefully that will keep you warm. But if you want to be like Michael and win some dope shit, win dope merch from the BFR store, join the Patreon, and you have a chance every month to win some free gear. So appreciate you, Michael, for being a Hall of Fame member as always. We got Jerome in here, hashtag OG, said Caleb is the one. I agree with you, Jerome. Also, thank you for sending in voicemails. We appreciate that. We got Cody over here with the hashtag OG, bear down, and hashtag FGB. You already know what that means. Give me some hashtag FGBs in the chat. Then we got both our Hall of Fame members in here today. Gage as well. Thank you. Hashtag OG. Appreciate that. Killmonger as well, who just had the question about my hair. Appreciate that on Twitter. Hashtag OG. Also, thank you to all the people that watch on Twitter, YouTube. Shout out our Apple and Spotify podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts. We appreciate y'all. And then we have Philip here with the hashtag OG. Thanks for the pod, boys. And I'm looking to become a Grizzly member. So if you want to be cool like Phil, you can join the Patreon. That's the link in our description, the BFR Den. A lot of great stuff in there. And we had one final question here. So this from Rod D on YouTube. Said, I have a question for you guys. I think Bears need to sign a veteran quarterback for Caleb to back him up like Joe Flacco or someone. Should they do it?
I don't believe I wouldn't.
Not
right now.
If we do, I'm not mad, but like whatever. You know what I mean? Either way, it's not
look
good.
At Justin. He had Andy Dalton and Nick Foles. It did not work. Too many cooks.
That was way too many. We had like 4 quarterbacks. That was
Ben Johnson. You hire Ben Johnson. That's good enough. That's
for
really
sure.
Good.
The only reason you would have that is not like, I mean, there might be mentorship, but it's more of like injury concern. But Tyson can come in there and do enough. We saw that. So I am okay.
Bears are doing a rare thing, which is they're developing their own guy that, I mean, Tyson could even potentially be traded for, a late pick.
For sure.
That's good. Keep taking stabs.
Yeah, why not? I think that's great. They should be drafting a quarterback in late rounds always. I'm a proponent of that, which is like GMs in general, because you never know what you can find back there. And if you hit on a quarterback back there, the value you get from that is tremendous, as you see with someone like a Brock Purdy or even a Tom Brady. Okay, so we do have a final one here from Plastic Rockets. I know you're active in the chat. Appreciate it, Plastic, with a hashtag OG. And Plastic, are you in California? Because then this was a really, really early show. So appreciate you hopping on for that. And appreciate all you on a Saturday morning, waking up with us, hopping on here for the BFR pod. Again, the number one show for the fans, by the fans, Dave and our fans, just like you. Same with Jack. And we support this team through thick and thin, mostly thin recently. But, we're here for that, and we'll keep doing it and keep doing it for you. And then also, reminder, Green Gridiron, you want some helmets? I'm trying to get some back there wherever I can point. I'll have some probably within next month. But if you want to get some like me, go to greengridiron.com. We do have the link in our description as well. Use code BFR. You'll get a discount off your first order. Shout out to them, and then shout out to Sports Mockery. Check out Dave's work as well on there. He writes all the time on there. Bunch of great articles. Not only do they cover the Bears, they cover everything in Chicago as well. So go check out all of that stuff. Oh, and then we did say, Plastic Rocket said, in LA, homie. Dang, bro, it is early. Thank you for hopping on. If we did the show at 10 my time, that means it was 7 a.m. your time. So good stuff. Appreciate it, man.
Early morning show.
Oh, we do hear a nice message here from Christian on Twitter. Said, thank you guys. Keep up the hard work. Appreciate it, Christian. Thank you for hopping on Twitter. Appreciate that. Rod D, we just answered this. We said, no, not really, but appreciate you asking the question again. All right. I think that is it.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. You guys leave a like and subscribe before you head out. We appreciate you. We'll be back next week, of course, with a couple episodes. And of course, we'll get to any breaking news if we need to same day. So we appreciate y'all. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy good football. And we'll see you soon.
Peace.